We know that students learn to swim in a number of different ways, depending on all sorts of factors, such as their age, their motor skill development, their experience in the water, and also their motivation to learn to swim. Therefore, as an instructor, you want to use a number of different teaching strategies to help them develop their aquatic skills.
Some strategies depend on the instructor to drive the learning process, while others allow the student to play a greater role in how the skill is learned and at what pace. When choosing a teaching strategy for a particular lesson or skill, you'll need to consider
the skill and knowledge to be learned.
Some skills may be too complex to show all at once. You may need to break a skill down into components.
See that?
How the class will be organized.
Depending on the size of your class, it may be more effective to divide the groups into pairs or small groups. Try to maximize the involvement of your students.
How much practice time is provided?
Students may be able to master a skill in one lesson, or it may take a few.
How often and what type of feedback will be provided?
Are you introducing or refining a skill? Students who are just learning a skill may need more direct supervision and guidance.
Excellent. We're gonna work on
And
that.
finally, the age and skill level of your students.
Some strategies work better with younger students than they will with older. But no matter which teaching strategy you use, you'll want to keep your students actively involved, practicing and experiencing what they learn. Of course, there are pros and cons for each teaching strategy, but whatever you choose, your goal is the same: to help your students improve their ability to swim and be safe in and around the water while keeping them motivated and engaged.
Now let's take a look at one of the most commonly used teaching strategies in which the instructor explains, demonstrates, and then has his or her students practice a skill.
What we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to do the back float, okay? Now, I want everyone to watch me because I'm going to demonstrate, okay? What I want you guys to do, first put your head back into the water, look up at the sky, and then gently push off. Okay, did everyone see that? Yes. Okay.
With this strategy, the instructor provides verbal directions and visual examples on how to perform a skill, and then provides the students with the time to practice.
Ready? Put your head back into the water, look up at the sky, okay, and then gently go off. Okay, good.
Any type of feedback the student receives comes from the instructor. It's important that your directions are clear and concise, and you should constantly check to see if you're communicating at the right level. When demonstrating a skill, make sure that all of your students can see and hear, and that you're not teaching too much or too fast.
Everybody see?
Yes.
Good.
We're going to learn how to do the breaststroke.
Notice how the instructor describes the action and conducts the demonstration more slowly than normal with exaggerated movements.
First, you're going to start and you're going to pull the water with your elbow
With some
up,
aquatic
out,
skills,
clap
such
your
as
hands,
introducing a new stroke or springboard diving, it may be appropriate to break the skill into parts or steps.
Just try it. Pull, clap.
Other skills, like the front and back floats, should be demonstrated and practiced as a whole.
You ready to try it?
Finally, provide your students with plenty of time to practice.
Go.
This allows students to experience what they've just heard while giving you time to provide corrective feedback to individual students.
I want this group to stand the steps. You guys are from the Sarah on kicking stationary. This group, we're going to go with kickboards. You guys are going to kick all the way to the wall and come all the way back. You guys ready? Yeah. All right. Go.
Remember to plan additional and alternative activities for both more advanced and less skilled students.
One strategy that can help you deal with different skill levels among your students is task setting. This strategy requires greater responsibility on the part of your students, but involves them more because they are able to begin, practice, and end assigned tasks more at their own pace.
Read your cards. Start working on the exercise in the station.
Task setting works best if you have the help of co-instructors and aides. You can describe the tasks or use task cards. Task cards describe the task to be performed in words or simple images.
underwater and blow bubbles and get a breath. Come on.
Students are allowed to vary how they practice a skill and do so at their own pace. Some are simply getting parts of their face wet, while others are attempting to exhale and blow bubbles underwater.
Good, that was good. We're gonna go change stations. I want everyone to move down the station. Guys, in the end, I want you guys to move to Station A.
Teaching stations, each involving a different task, can be set up so that your students rotate from station to station individually, as partners, or as a small group, all under your close supervision, of course. You may organize each task station around a different skill, like front floating or bobbing, or around a set of skills from a particular level, such as different types of kicks. See how the class has been organized so that Station 1 is for students to practice the breaststroke kick, Station 2 for students to practice the dolphin kick, and Station 3 for the flutter kick. Notice how the instructor or aide provides enough supervision to ensure that the students remain focused and take time to give appropriate feedback. Some of the considerations when using task setting are the size of your facility, amount of equipment, skills to be learned, number of stations, and the number of co-instructors or aides available to assist with supervision. The number of students at each station should not cause congestion. It takes organization and work, but the rewards can be great when students are motivated and learn skills in a more self-directed manner.
Another strategy you can use is reciprocal teaching, which involves pairs of students who observe and evaluate each other's performance. This gives your students even greater responsibility, both for their own skill development and for observing each other. This strategy requires some additional preparation by the instructor and practice by the students.
Okay guys, today we're gonna split up into groups of 2, and we're gonna have one person that's gonna be called the watcher, and the other one's gonna be called the doer. I want the watchers to make sure that their partners, the doers, are going up and down 5 times in a row. Okay, the doers ready? Okay, go ahead guys.
Always give clear and concise instructions. And it's best to start with simple tasks that have very simple and obvious performance criteria. For example, even a young student can observe whether a partner's mouth and nose get wet, or whether the whole head goes underwater.
Good job, Mitchell. Gavin, you're gonna be the doer. I want you guys to make sure that their legs are moving in circles, okay? Guys, slide on in.
The reciprocal or partner teaching style really works best with swimmers who are self-directed and mature enough to take responsibility for executing the task and evaluating each other.
Good.
You may need to introduce tasks and partner-style teaching gradually.
In circles.
You should do a little bit long because one foot's going under.
Now let's move on to a teaching strategy called guided discovery. This strategy involves providing a series of tasks and challenges to your students that have several possible, although fairly predictable, solutions.
All right, here's the hard one. Can you get your belly buttons wet? Who can get their belly buttons wet? Oh, you did it, great. All right.
Notice that the instructor does not explain or demonstrate exactly how students should perform a skill, but instead leads them step by step through a series of tasks by posing challenges and asking questions.
Their cheek wet. That's pretty good. Who can get their other cheek wet? And who can get their...
The tasks or task questions challenge the students to use their natural inquisitiveness and excitement with learning to explore different possible solutions to the swimming problems posed by the instructor.
Oh, great. Who can touch the bottom with more than just their feet?
You have to have a solid understanding of how aquatic skills are learned to use guided discovery. And you have to be able to design tasks that have fairly predictable solutions going from general to more specific.
I want to see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people. Can you come out to me with kicking and not making a splash? There's one. Without splash.
Guided discovery requires lots of preparation and some creativity on your part. You may have to gradually give your students short experiences with this strategy, especially if they've not had the opportunity to learn this way in the past.
Getting familiar with and using a number of different teaching strategies makes it easier to help each of your students develop their aquatic skills.
And remember, no matter what strategy you choose, your goal is the same: to keep your students safe, engaged, motivated, and learning.